Yeah, hello guys. Welcome to another lessons again with Emmy John, and we'll be taking it further from here. The main topic we'll be digesting today is the function or the role of the diminished seventh chord. The last time we talked about dominant seventh chord and its function, and today we'll be talking about the diminished seventh chord. So without wasting some more time, let's sharply dive into it, as we don't want to make this lesson so long. What's a diminished chord? A diminished chord is simply any chord built up in minor thirds. Somebody may ask, what's a minor third? From C to E flat is a minor third interval. From E flat to F sharp or G flat is another minor third interval. So therefore this chord is called a C diminished chord. Now we can add a 7 to that chord, which is one extension that it has, by making it a diminished 7. So this chord is called a C diminished 7 chord. And the question is, why is the sixth the 7? Using the diminished scale, we have two kinds of diminished scale, the whole half and the half whole diminished scale. Using the half whole diminished scale or the whole half diminished scale, you find out that the sixth note is always the seventh. How and why? Again, one more time. So you find out that the sixth is the seventh. So that's why it's called C diminished 7. And it's all built up in minor third intervals. So with the same way we can form the diminished 7 for all keys. I always advise my students work on the diminished 7 chord on all keys. You can either move it in two ways, chromatically or in the circle of fourth. When we talk about chromatically, what do we mean? We simply mean moving in half step or in semitones. So the distance from C to E flat is a half step interval. Same thing also happens with your left hand. So it is very important you work the two up with your right and left hand to get familiar with the chords. So together it becomes this. Now let's sharply dive into the main topic for today. What is the function or the role of the diminished 7 chord? The diminished 7 chord is a dominant chord, but it's an extension of the dominant chord. It's just a flattened 9. And the question is why? We're going to clear that all. A dominant chord is a chord that has a 1, a third, a 5, and a minor 7. So therefore, that's why we have this. So when we have a flattened 5, or when we have an added flat 9 to it, it becomes a dominant 7 with a flat 9. So we have this. Or C. So it means that when I hold E diminished 7, it's just a dominant 7 of C, but with a flattened 9, or rather C7 flat 9. Why are we saying flat 9? On the key of C, the ninth is D. So when I flatten 9, it gives me D flat. So therefore we have this. So how do we play this chord? And what is the function of this chord? This chord still functions as the 5 chord. So when I hold the diminished 7 chord, all I have to do is to locate where is the one of the chord. What's it functioning as the 5 chord as? So when I hold E diminished 7, it's functioning as C dominant 7 flat 5. Therefore, it's functioning as C dominant 7 with a flattened 9. So as a flattened 9 chord, it's just an extension of the dominant chord, and it still does the same work as a 5 chord that want to resolve to a 1. So we have seen how it resolves from a 5 to a 1. That is the main role of the diminished 7. Now apart from that, diminished 7th chords can be moved in inversions to give you different inversions, which also works for the same chord. So when I hold E diminished 7, if I invert it, it gives me G diminished 7. When inverted also gives us A sharp or B flat diminished 7. When inverted gives us D flat diminished 7. And then back to E diminished 7. So that is how diminished chords can be inverted. So therefore, it works over the same roots. So I can try a very simple song, experimenting with this 5 diminished chord going to the 1. So I have this. So I don't know if you notice the role of the diminished 7 going back to 1. So I did this. You find out that this is the same inversion as this. Same as inversion as this. Same inversion as this. And finally the same inversion as this. So I sharply used it as this. Another song again could be, another example could be this. So that's how the diminished chord works. So whenever I hold the diminished chord down, what I'm thinking is a third. I'm seeing my first note as a third of what key? Because this chord forms G sharp diminished 7 or G sharp dominant 7 with a flat 9. So I advise my students to work this up chromatically also as well. So you can take each of the notes, work it up chromatically to get used to it, so that you could just do this. C dominant 7 flat 9, B flat dominant 7 flat 9. You could try any key like that to just test your ability to identify the chords as soon as possible. So one exercise on this is this: try to hold the root and then form the diminished 7 from the third. The root, form the diminished 7 from the third. So that is C tonic, the diminished 7 from E. So that means that whenever I'm holding a chord as F sharp diminished 7, the root note should be what? Should be D. Whenever I'm holding A flat diminished 7, the root note should be what? E. And I could use this also to do another example. So let's say I'm doing a walk up from the 7 3 6. So I'm doing again. One more time again. So I did a walk up using the diminished 7 chord, respecting the 3 interval. Sorry, on the key of C. Because we said it functions as a dominant chord, and the function of the dominant chord of E is to resolve to A. So in case if you still have issues with the dominant chord, you can kindly go back to the last video which I uploaded last week Friday, which spelled out the function of the dominant chord, so that I could quickly get used to and understand the function of the dominant chord. So without wasting some more time, let's take it further from here, where to become more interesting. We discovered that for every diminished 7 chord we hold on the right hand, we can now know the exact dominant chord or the exact root or tonic chord on the left hand. So therefore, when I hold C diminished 7 on my right hand, the root note should be what? Should be A flat. So when I hold C on my left hand, my right hand should be holding E diminished 7. So when I hold F, same thing with F on the left hand, we have A. Same thing with B flat. So with this, we could do a basic progression, which is like 2 5 1 on the key of F. So it becomes this. Using diminished. Why? The 2 of F is G. So I simply apply the diminished from the third as we did. I could invert it to pick any inversion that suits my taste. Then my 5 chord, I did the same way. But I picked another inversion closest to the chord, which is voice leading. We'll talk about that later. The one must always be a major. So I did this. One more time again. So that is what I did. Now again, I also discovered something else. We can also spice up our diminished by notating this. The diminished 7 chord does not only function as just as the dominant 7 flat 9 of the root key, but also of the minor third of each of the root key moving down. Example, if I hold C diminished 7 on my right hand and A flat tonic on my left hand. So this chord forms A flat 7 flat 9. Same thing with B 7 flat 9. Same thing with D 7 flat 9. Same thing with F 7 flat 9. And same thing with A flat diminished 7 flat 9. We can check it out to verify why. In the key of A flat we have this. So this is the root, this is the third, this is the 5, this is the 7th, and this is the flat 9. On the key of B, we have this as the root. We have this as the flat 9. We have E flat as the third. We have G flat as the 5. And we have A as the 7. Same thing applies to all the other notes. So it permits me that whenever I hold a C diminished 7, I'm thinking of 4 root notes that could work for it. So that's how the diminished works. Another quick summary on the bonus of the diminished chord is this. We could use drop tools to make our diminished chord more interesting and more elaborate. How? Since knowing the function of the diminished 7 chord being as an extension of the dominant 7 chord, but only with a flattened 9. Example on C. And the function of the C chord normally as a dominant chord is to resolve to the 1. So whenever I'm playing a C diminished 7 with a flat 9, I play it in drop 2 position. I will talk about drop 2s and we'll do other exercises under drop 2s, but in later lessons. So drop 2 simply means taking the second highest note and putting it on the left hand. So this is how drop 2 works. One more time again. One more time again. So imagine I'm playing a very simple song. Since I know the 5 chord on F, it's a 5 that I always want to resolve to a 1. So how do I spice up my 5 as a diminished 7 chord by using drop 2 to make it more elaborate? That's what I do. So imagine I'm playing a simple progression as this. So what did I do? I simply played the 5 chord, and I sharply did inversions by removing the drop 2s out of each and placing the note on my left hand. Simply meaning I was playing a rootless C7 flat 9 chord bed with drop 2 positions. And yet I still respected the fact that the function of that chord was a 5 chord, which was a C going back to F. So no matter what I was doing, I was respecting the 5 going to the 1, which is F. So that these are one of the simple ways you could spice up your diminished progressions and then Try to see what you can create with it. Try to create 2-5-1 progression, 5-1-4 progression. I could do a simple 5-1-4 progression in the key of F sharp or G flat. So I want to play a 5-1-4, so I could do this. One more time again. One more time again, a 5-1-4. So one more time again. What did I do? I took the 5 from the third, but I could invert it. Any of my choice. For the 1, same thing for the 1. You could invert it, pick any inversion of your choice. So that's it. And then its work is resolved to B major 7, which is the 4th of G flat. So it becomes a 5-1-4. Any position you want. I could also do. So it becomes my sol do 5-1-4. So one more time again. I could also do this. So that is how the diminished 7 works. So thank you, and if you have more questions, please comment, drop it in the comment section. I'll be happy and excited to answer some of your questions. And then in future lessons, we have a lot of work to do to break down other more concepts. So thank you for today, and thank you for spending your little time with me on the understanding of the function of the rules of the diminished 7 chord. So we have talked about the diminished 7 chord. It's just a dominant 7 chord with a flat 9. So having known the function of the dominant chord, so you should bear in mind that every diminished chord is a dominant chord but with a flat 9. So it functions also as a dominant chord, which is a 5 that I want to resolve to a 1. Either a 1 major or a 1 minor. Thank you, and God bless you. Please do well to subscribe, share this video, and comment. Thank you.